Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Nate and Josh coming here with an All-Star Weekend special episode for you guys. We're going to be taking a look at some of the stuff on Sunday with the big game. Also looking at the contests on Saturday as well. Some skills stuff, three-point and dunk contest stuff that we're looking at here and some picks that we have for you. Always a reminder to bet responsibly. This is some fun that we're having. This is an All-Star Weekend for fun. So I'm not sure that we're going to be just dropping full unit plays on all these things, but you get really nice plus odds if you get some of this stuff right and hit your darts correctly. So we'll go ahead and put, a little sprinkle here and there on some stuff that might get us 5 to 10 to 1 on our money in those ranges, right? So another reminder to go ahead and subscribe to the page. We are in a quick break for the All-Star Weekend, but then we're coming right back to you guys when games get going again next week with our daily videos, best bets, and play-up props that we have each and every weekday for you guys. We also have that great website, thelines.com. That's the hub where you can go ahead and get everything you need as you continue to bet on these games, including the prop finder tool that we always tell you about under the NBA tab, where you can go ahead and see all of the bets in front of you from all the books delivering us these odds. Get the best ones, make your best bets there. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into this NBA All-Star Weekend action. We're going to be going sort of like start with some of the stuff on the game. I know we'll get into some MVP stuff and the lines, maybe some totals, and then we'll jump into some more of the skills events afterward.
Yeah, good tease. We are starting with the total. My pick here, under 364, and yes, I'm going under in an All-Star game, which sounds so terrifying, but they've raised this market so much that where this total is at, it has only gone over twice in All-Star game history. Those happen to be the last 2 years of the East versus West format in 2017 and 18. And so that kind of caused them to go to that team captain format. We had the Elam ending in there, which of course went under, was very competitive. And so now they're going back to East-West, and I think at least initially we'll get a little bit more of a care factor, right? I mean, because there's been this break where it wasn't East-West, where it just fell apart, nobody cared about representing their conference. Now it might be a bit of a point of pride, at least especially for the East, I would say, which is why my second bet here is to just take the plus money for the East to win, caring more, basically, playing some defense with their identity being Giannis and company. And as long as there's a modicum of defense, like 364 points, I don't know if we realize, like, somebody has to score 190 for that to hit. And it's happened. It's been close in the All-Star game. Usually when Steph hits like 17 threes and Dame also hits 17 threes. But in general, the last decade, the games averaged between 300 and 320. And then, yeah, we had those two spikes where it was just a complete joke, and people were watching like Steph bounce pass it to Giannis for an alley-oop and yada, yada. I mean, while there is no defense, that means no free throw attempts. So that's a positive towards the under, and everybody has to make every 3-pointer they take basically for you to get 190 each. Even last year with the captain format, which people really didn't care about, 359 was the total, with one team scoring 185, I believe. So, I mean, the previous high in that format was 342. For me, if you can get this number at 364, this is the one like serious bet that with the minus 110 odds to just say, look, I'll take it and try to make some money here and hope that there isn't just an absurd lack of defense, like that they're literally escorting each other to the rim.
And the other problem, in addition to the escorting each other to the rim, is there's the 5-second possessions. It's like the 5 seconds or less Suns at this point for the All-Star game. It's the way it was in the last couple because of, just I think it was also like a disbursement of shooters, and now you've got like 3 shooters on the floor at any time who can shoot from 30 feet. I mean, that'll still probably be the case for a lot of this, but I like that. I mean, I do like the East a bit more in this one, and I know you'll talk about that, and I'll tell you why too. I mean, just for that point, just to hit it, because you mentioned that you do like that, and I know you'll go into that a bit more. But for me in that front, like the disbursement of talent in between conferences might be greater 1 to 20 in the West, right? Like I get that. Like the 20th best dude in the West is probably as good as like the 12th guy in the East if I really wanted to jump into it. But you only get 5 players on a court at once, and there's only 12 dudes on each team anyway. And all 5 that are going to be on the East, you can't tell me that there's a distinct advantage between them and all 5 that are going to be in the West. Like that's an equal talent dispersion right there. So like plus 125 on the money line for them to be considered an underdog. It's just it's a situation too in betting where it's like this couldn't be more evenly matched, and you're saying I get better odds for one team than the other to like a significant enough degree that I'll go ahead and hit it. But for me, like I also want to talk about the All-Star Game MVP. I think we both agree that the most I think just the best bet right here for the odds and the best value, I will call it, is Ant Edwards at plus 1100. I'm also going to talk about Donnie Mitchell though, who gets twice as good on juice as that at plus 2200. Those two are the dudes that I'm putting a little bit on each of them. I obviously like I can go ahead and put on both of them and still win a lot of plus money there. But for Ant, like it's just a situation of like this could be a sort of not necessarily coming out party, but it is another stepping stone of like another little accolade under your belt as you try to grow who you are in this game. He hasn't done anything yet other than like wow us and do the best impression of Michael Jordan between a mid-range and going to the rim and gliding all the way to the rim that I've seen. Like it looks like Michael, honestly. I'm not saying he's close. I'm just saying the body movement and the game style, like that's the closest I've seen. And he's coming up, man. Like he's not done. So he has some stuff to do. Obviously, he still has some stuff to achieve, and I would say this is an easy way to get yourself on that sort of start to having like stuff under your belt that makes you, sort of puts you up there with your resume. For Ant also this year, like everything's just up. We know that like this is now his team. I would say we've been saying this since the Olympics, right? Since that summer games, we're looking at Ant and going, yes, the coveted moment in time where the rising superstar goes and plays for his country, comes back a changed man, and is now a new level of mature. And honestly, that has coincided with Kat and probably Chris Finch as well, being like, okay, this is Ant's team. Let's be very, very clear whose team this is and who is the only irreplaceable dude on it now, and that is Anthony Edwards. So he's up a couple points per game, up to 26.3. That's a really like important mark, the 26.3. I think getting above 26 points per game. As far as the efficiency goes, like the 3-point percentage, 38.6. That's what I look at as well. Just so much better this year that he's become. Shooting from deep. And then, so, I think 1,100 is great for him. 2,200 for Donnie Mitchell, who would have had it if, he wasn't surpassed, last year by Tatum, who went for the All-Star game high in the history of the game at 55 points, right? He took the record last year, and that's what it took to keep it from Donnie, who we know had a little bit of the motivation of being back in Utah. He knows those rims. I do buy into the sort of home court advantage of a player who's like, yeah, I play here all the time. Like every other dude on the team doesn't. So, and being hyped by that. But not talking about Halliburton yet, I still think Donnie, like a dude who's just continued to just be crazy good. Like he's really moved himself close to the top 10, at least top 15 in the league right now, the way that he's been playing. I know you've targeted him a ton in player props for good reason. He's up to 28.4 points per game, the 6.3 assists as well. He's is finally back up to what he was in Utah as a playmaker, because last year was a little bit of a struggle. He was down to like 4.5 assists per game, trying to figure it out alongside Darius Garland. Another thing with it's his team this year, when you have that kind of confidence where it's like you already are the dude on your team, which most of these guys are, but like he really took another level into being like, I'm the man here in Cleveland. I would really believe in that. He took the second most field goal attempts behind Tatum last year and had 40 points. So I think he's probably like, I came really close. I'd like another one, and is a good bet to keep going here in this one.
Yeah, no, I love Ant Edwards at the value there. My concern with Donnie is exactly what you ended on, is that he's been carrying his team, and I look at everybody on this list that has been just carrying an enormous load and is actually higher in the MVP conversation than Ant Edwards. And I think that they need some rest, right? That they can't just like go hard. There's a reason Tatum got it last year, is because he's playing with a bunch of other all-stars on the Celtics and does not have to carry a massive MVP load every night, right, like a Luka or a Donovan or a Steph this year that is really high up there. And he's not coming in hurt like Halliburton. So I think Ant, as far as the West winning, he's the most likely for me. Like KD, been there, done that. SGA is a real game player. He's not an all-star game player. Like Kawhi also banged up, carrying the load. So yeah, he stands out for me. And yeah, we're going back to what we said about the East, which is just like grab that plus money. Because Kawhi, first of all, we don't know what he's thinking ever. Does he care? But in this situation, like he just missed a couple games, so he needs some rest. AD and Bron obviously need rest. KD, old, been there, done that. Luka, Jokic, we know absolutely do not care about the All-Star game. Like they just make an absolute mockery of it. Do not care. You have the cat factor, who always can throw off team chemistry or just not hit his shots, etc. So yeah, I just don't really see a lot other than Steph just going bananas. that would carry the West to a win here. Whereas the East has a lot of young guys trying to prove themselves, like Maxey, dark horse right there, plus 7,500. Like he should just be jetting all over the floor, getting enough layups to have like 45 points with ease here. Jaylen Brown always trying to prove something. Tatum, well rested, good two-way player. So I think there's enough depth here for the East and just guys trying to make a name for themselves. And my MVP true long shot would be to put it on Trae Young at plus 11,000 at FanDuel.
How is that a possible line that they set? You can get Trae Young to win this random bet at plus one. Like, what?
That's correct. He has the fourth longest odds.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, if there's a player who's born to play in the All-Star game, like it's Trae Young. He was the fastest guy to get to 100 points in his first 3 All-Star appearances. He dropped 30 plus at just age 21, averages 24 and 10, shooting 40% from 3. And yeah, you could easily have like 15, 16 dimes in this one, along with like 30 plus points and 10 threes. Like he's just going to be bombing away. Nobody's going to be guarding him. And he doesn't have to play defense to win this award, really. So that for me is a decent long shot, along with the East to win.
Yeah. Are you crazy? That is insanity. I'm going to hit that for 110 to 1 on my money for Trae Young, who, like you said, there's 2 prototypes for the all-star player. Can you just jump out of the gym and throw down like 19 different dunks that make us all go, oh, or can you shoot from 92 feet away and have us all just going like, oh, like you have to do one of those 2 things to wow an all-star crowd.
And throw the lobs. Yeah, he'll be throwing lobs. Yeah.
And the other thing is what if he throws a behind his back off the backboard alley-oop to somebody? That's not out of the question. Like, hell yeah, give me plus one, whatever. I'm just saying 110 to 1 of my money. That's the only way I know how to say that number. It's so high. That's awesome. Tyrese Maxey has shorter odds to be the MVP than Trae Young. Think about what I just said. That's insanity. Like, Trae Young is so much better. He's a walking offense. I love that bet, man. That is, yeah, I'm going to hit that for sure. This makes my bet just look so meager and silly. I'm talking about Tyrese Halliburton. I'm just tossing it out there as like 12 to 1 that's not even a number that makes your hair stand up at all the way that the Trae Young number does for him to win a very reasonable opportunity for him to win an award. For Halliburton, it's literally, it's just if he's out there for the minutes, and you correctly pointed out that he's been coming off of, he finally got above 30 minutes, right, in these last couple games for the Pacers. So it does seem like he's back to off the minutes restriction. He was never really getting 36 unless it was like a really tight game against the Bucks in the in-season tournament, right? But like he is the type of dude like who would care about this. 1, cares about Indiana being at home. 2, cares about random things like the in-season tournament to that degree, right? So it seems like he does care about these ancillary stuff that, this team isn't winning a championship this year. Like they're really hoping to stay out of the play-in. And if they do, that'll be a good season for them. Like 40 wins is a really good season for the Pacers this year. So they ain't going anywhere in the playoffs. This type of stuff does matter for young dudes, I think, moving forward. And it's similar concept to Ant, where it's like, you're both rising stars. Ant's solidified himself a bit more for sure at this point, but you're both rising stars, and already near the top of the league in terms of value and best players on your teams already, et cetera. So like, I see the incentive to like take this stepping stone, step on it, and move up and be like, cool, got a All-Star Game MVP under my belt. This season couldn't have gone better for me because I knew we weren't winning the championship back in August. I already knew that. So that's why, now we're moving forward. Next year, we're going to have Pascal another year on this team, et cetera. So yeah, I think this is a good situation for him to just care enough about it. And that's what I'm looking for, is like, who could care? What's the angle where this dude actually goes out and cares, or is just capable of hitting 19 threes himself? Like, we've seen him shoot just as well as these dudes this year. So that's another thing I'm banking on. Highlight player, loves throwing lobs, and then we'll be jumping up and laughing and getting people excited. And it's a narrative situation at that point if you get the stats. So
yeah, the line I threw out for Trae could easily be Tyrese Halliburton, even if he does play under 30 minutes, because he's still, I think that is the one concern, is that he's still got to nurse that hamstring and be careful with it, not play too many minutes, but like he's already getting 12 dimes per like 28 minutes going into the break here. And that's with a real team against real defenses. And now he's just going to be throwing dimes all over the place. So